rain had started just before sunset, turning the busy street in downtown Chicago into a blur of headlights and reflections. Inside a small, worn-out food truck parked at the corner, a young woman named Grace Turner wiped her hands on her apron, her fingers trembling from exhaustion more than the cold. Her eyes were tired, her smile forced, and her heart, well, her heart had learned long ago not to expect anything from anyone. That night felt like every other night, until it wasn't. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that life can change in a single moment, take a second right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Because stories like this remind us why hope is never truly lost. Grace had built her life from nothing. After losing her mother at 19 and being forced out of her childhood home by distant relatives who saw her as a burden, she had spent years drifting, working 2 jobs, sleeping in cheap motels, sometimes even her car. The food truck wasn't a dream, it was survival. A small loan, a used vehicle, and a desperate determination to stay afloat. That's all she had. Every morning before sunrise, she would park in the same spot, prepare the same simple menu, and greet strangers with a polite smile. Most people barely looked at her. To them, she was just another vendor, another invisible face in a fast-moving city. But Grace had once been someone else. Years ago, before life hardened her edges, she had been full of laughter and dreams. Back then, she had worked at a small cafe in a quiet town in Ohio. It was there she met someone who changed everything. A kind, awkward boy named Nathan Brooks. He wasn't rich then, just another college student who came in every afternoon, always ordering the same thing, always leaving a bigger tip than he could afford. Nathan had seen her. Not just her face, but her struggles, her quiet strength, her fears. He had spoken to her like she mattered, like her dreams weren't foolish, and for a brief moment in time, Grace believed in something more. But life doesn't always wait for love to grow. Nathan had disappeared suddenly, leaving only a short note saying he had to leave town for an opportunity he couldn't refuse. No explanation, no promise to return, just gone. And with him, Grace's fragile hope shattered once again. Years passed and she buried that memory deep inside, convincing herself it had meant nothing. Until that rainy night. The line outside her food truck was longer than usual, mostly office workers trying to grab a quick meal before heading home. Grace moved quickly, taking orders, handing out food, barely making eye contact. It was easier that way. Then he stepped into line, dressed in a tailored suit, holding an umbrella that probably cost more than her entire week's earnings. Nathan Brooks looked like someone from a different world, a world of success, power, and wealth. A world Grace had never belonged to. She didn't recognize him at first. How could she? The shy boy she once knew had become a confident man, his posture straight, his presence commanding. And she had become invisible. When his turn came, she kept her eyes on the counter, asking for his order in the same practiced tone she used with everyone else. Her hands moved automatically, preparing the meal without a second thought. But Nathan didn't take the food right away. Instead, he leaned slightly closer, his voice low enough that only she could hear. "Still remember me?" The words hit her like a storm. Grace froze. Her hands stopped moving, her breath caught in her chest, and for a moment the noise of the city faded into silence. Slowly, almost unwillingly, she looked up, and there he was. Older, yes. Changed, definitely. But those eyes, they were the same. The same warmth, the same quiet understanding that once made her feel seen. Her mind raced, emotions colliding, shock, confusion, anger, and something she refused to name. But instead of saying anything, she simply looked away. Because remembering him meant remembering everything she had lost. Nathan didn't push. He took the food, placed money on the counter, far more than necessary, and stepped aside. But he didn't leave. He stood there, under the dim glow of the streetlight, watching her as if he had been searching for this moment for years. And maybe he had. The next few days he came back. Same time, same quiet presence. Always ordering something simple, always leaving too much money, always watching her with eyes full of something she couldn't understand. Grace tried to ignore him. But ignoring him didn't stop the memories, didn't stop the questions, didn't stop the part of her heart that had never truly let him go. One evening, as the rain returned once again, heavier this time, the crowd was thinner. The city felt quieter, almost as if it was waiting. Nathan stepped up to the counter again. This time, Grace didn't look away. There was a long silence between them, filled with years of unspoken words. And then, without raising his voice, without making a scene, Nathan began to explain. He told her about the opportunity that had taken him away, a startup that had grown into something massive, something that demanded everything from him. He spoke of sleepless nights, endless work, and the guilt of leaving without saying goodbye properly. He admitted that he had tried to find her, but she had already left town, disappeared into a world that didn't keep records of people like her. And through it all, he never forgot her. Grace listened, her expression unreadable. Because life had taught her that words were easy, but actions were what mattered. Nathan didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't make promises. Instead, he simply said that he had finally found her, and this time, he wasn't going anywhere. Days turned into weeks. Nathan kept coming back, not as a millionaire CEO, not as someone above her, but as the same boy who once saw her when no one else did. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Grace began to change. Her guarded eyes softened, her forced smiles became real. And for the first time in years, she allowed herself to feel something she had long buried: hope. But the true turning point came on a cold morning when Grace arrived at her usual spot, only to find it empty. Her food truck was gone. For a moment, panic set in. Had it been towed? Stolen? Her heart raced as she searched the street. Then she saw him. Standing a few steps away, Nathan held out a set of keys, pointing toward a brand new food truck parked nearby. It was bigger, better, fully equipped, everything she had ever needed but could never afford. He didn't say much. He didn't need to. Because this wasn't about money. It was about belief. About showing her that she was worth more than survival. That her dreams mattered. If this story touched your heart even a little, don't scroll away. Take a moment to like, share, and subscribe, because stories like Grace's deserve to be heard. And before the ending, here's something special. Comment below "Second chances exist" if you believe that people can change and life can surprise us in the most beautiful ways. Grace looked at the new truck, then back at Nathan. Tears filled her eyes, not of sadness, but of something she hadn't felt in years. Relief, healing, a second chance. And for the first time in a long, long time, she didn't look away.